Hello everyone, video number 4 of enhancing the defaults, and here we're going to be talking about if data labels should be at the tip or end of the bars or on the axis of the chart. At the axis or at the tip, on axis or at the tip. And it's something that it really caught my attention because sometimes we do see these bar charts that are labeled, but sometimes I do find that sometimes over labeling could be a problem. And a potential solution for over labeling is to maybe bring those labels onto the axis here, leave the shape of the data as we can see here, which is this, the bar charts are like that. We see that physical health is the category with the most points in this case, in this context. And this is nice, I think, because on one point we're having a sort of a table view and also a chart view. So I think this adds a good approach to having the axis or having the data labels on the axis, or maybe not, maybe just switching them, maybe also use this as an educational sort of example and say, hey, look at the difference between having them on the axis versus at the tip, which is commonly placed or seen on the while. Now, before proceeding on how to build this in Excel, or especially getting this formula, the formula that will allow you to have this on the axis, I do want to give credit that the original chart was from the Data Wrapper blog. I'm leaving the link here on the spreadsheet in case you want a copy of this file, and also below this video on my blog. And I do have to mention something here, that the original idea was something that this was the original example, but look at the axis, it's left aligned, and we talked about this on the previous video. And I was like, I saw this chart and immediately it was caught because it had a good detail of the grid lines, having like that and going all the way until the axis. So you had a grid line that goes all the way into the axis. And I like that. It's a small touch, but I think it has a good sense of elegance. Also, I like the labels and the color bars. It's not all of them. It's just the ones that is here on the subtitle is specified to be health related that are in green. Good. But what really got my attention was like, hey, how about these labels being outside the bars and then this one being inside? Now, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong. It's just that it does break a bit of consistency. So that got me thinking, hey, how about if all these labels, are on the axis, are right here on this axis, right here? Would that make a difference visually? I think it does. And or you can have them all outside the bar, all of them, so that way you can keep that consistency and people can understand. Because sometimes when you see these numbers outside the bars and not this one, it does create a little bit of like, hey, people pay attention to that instead of the whole message of the chart. That happens. And I did understand that, okay, they didn't include them inside the bars because there was no space. That makes sense. Okay. So that's why I'm making this post on saying, how about if we put all the axes on the axis, and which one would people would prefer, here on the axis or at the tip? So let's begin. We go now back to this example here, and I'm gonna copy these formulas here. So, and just copy in the meantime. Here I'm gonna leave this table here because this is the explanation of the formula. The formula does get a little bit lengthy once we combine all its parts into one. Before proceeding to this, I also want to mention that you might seem or maybe give you the expectation that the formula might get a little bit, once we put it all into one, get a little bit like, whoa, like this, in case you want to see already. And don't get scared. No, the formula is very simple, though if we add all the parts to have it in one, that's how it will look, okay? So maybe or just understanding this formula, then you can copy and paste this into other workbooks where you can get this effect of an axis like this, that is left, not that is like this, combined with the data labels and the axis items. Now, why is the formula a little bit verbose or complicated? Is because, and I'm gonna bring my magnifier here, look at the space in between weight loss and 20. You can see that there's a small space right here and then 30, and then that space is wider when you get to self-improvement and 9. And then if you go all the way up to 1.7, that space is kind of consistent. So what I'm trying to say here is that that formula is necessary in order in order to have things aligned. So this is what I mean. So if I just put a ruler here, we can see that all these numbers are good, are aligned. And then these ones over here are also aligned, the axis items, meaning these parts right here. This one, this one, this one. So this is important because you can see that there's no space in between these numbers right here, but there's some space over here that I'm pointing right now. And this is important. We need to include this. We need to have things aligned. Else, you wouldn't tell, but people who know about graphics and audience that are used to charts, they will observe that, and that, you know, we can improve it or we can avoid it by this formula. So let's proceed now. Let's as always, let's convert this into a table. Control T, and then table design. We're gonna select this as always, a table style light 4. And now I'm just gonna put this as example. And the first thing that I have to do is I have to do formatted, okay? That's gonna be my first part. And what I'm doing here, essentially, and I'm just maybe gonna zoomed in, perfect. And I'm just gonna add text, or actually, I don't know why did I do tag, okay, text, there we go. Of this value times 100, so I can bring it into integer numbers within this range of 0 between 100, between 0 and 100, comma, and then the format is gonna be quote 0.0, close the quotes and close this, and now I'm gonna have this format right here. Now this is good because why am I doing this? Because some numbers have decimals, like for example, friends and family is 1.9, 1.7, and 0.7 on social engagement. If we saw the chart, those labels were visually and they were left with one decimal, rather than the other ones were didn't have decimal, but we need to have this consistency for the formula. Now what I'm gonna do here is the length. Control Enter, and here I'm just gonna do what's the length of this formatted. That's gonna give me 4 and 3, okay? You have to think of these that if you have longer axis items, these numbers will vary. Now the maximum. The maximum, we just need max of this entire column. And now we get a 4, 4, 4. Now comes here the repetitions, which is just eventually it's gonna be subtracting the maximum minus the length. And there we go, we get zeros and 1. Now comes the new axis, okay, or the formatted, or we can say just axis, yes. And here is where things get really interesting, because what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna start with a basic if, okay, and what I'm gonna say is if the maximum is equal to the individual length, okay, on this case in the topic of physical health, if that's equal, do double quotes. And then we're gonna reform this just in case. Well, I'm being a little bit redundant here, but I'm just wanna be very clear on the explanation. Comma, if those two are equal, then leave it blank. That's why we're using the double quotes. Else, do a repetition, okay, here. And then maybe what I can do is delete this, open the parentheses. I'm just gonna go to this part and leave it like that, okay. Because I'm right here seeing with you guys, seeing the formula as well. So rept, I'm gonna put quotes, space quotes, because this is adding the spaces, times, okay? And here's, again, I'm gonna do this operation of the maximum minus the length plus 1, okay? And then close the rep, close the if, and now we got nothing, but there's something going on here. So now I'm just gonna add, sorry for that. Let me just back up here and going back again. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna concatenate here before the if with the, before that, double quote, 2 column or 2 semicolon, and I concatenate that. And now I'm gonna get that. But then I'm gonna get, what I also wanna do is concatenate that with the topic on this right here, okay? Maybe I just gotta move this a little bit to the right. There we go. And Control Enter. And now we see the weight loss and all that concatenated. But I'm missing the number, and the number is gonna be the formatted version. So now I go back to this formula, Control Alt Enter, and now I'm just gonna format this with the formatted version. And as soon as I do that, I already have my axis, the new axis that is gonna be plotted. Now, here's the thing though. Let me do Control just to back up and bring a chart. Maybe just get outside here. Just get somebody outside the table. And let's just add a 2D bar chart right here. Just expand this a little bit. Click, select data. The data is gonna be this one right here, the values. Close this. Now click for the title of the series is gonna be values. Now for the horizontal axis is gonna be this one. Boom. Click OK. Click OK. And now click on the vertical axis element, Control 1, just in case if this doesn't show up floating around for you, potentially it's gonna show up like this. So again, left click on the title of this section and then hold it, and then you can undock it. I wanna have it always here because I'm on the right side of the video. And then you're gonna go to right here on this section that says category in reverse order. As soon as we do that, we get that effect. And look at this. Now maybe we can switch the font to the whole chart and it's gonna be Arial. There we go. And look at that. See, this is awesome because we do get the effect that we're looking for. Physical health, there has no space in between. Weight loss is the same. But 13, then self-improvement, we start to see a gap there. We can see it right there on the screen, okay? And that gap gets consistent, but that gap makes the numbers to be left aligned. And that is something that is paramount for this, okay? For this to work. Here you can see I'm drawing kind of like a visual ruler just to make sure that the formula is working. So you can see that all the axis items are aligned. So from here, so you can see that they're aligned here. So I'm just drawing this arrow here. So see, they're all starting from here accordingly. Now, there's a very subtle offset, but it's very subtle. It's very hard for the eye to see, okay? Now, here's the thing though with this formula. If I were to remove the +1, look, this is what would happen, okay? See, it's hard to also tell, but you can tell that it doesn't look aligned. For example, we can see here that it kind of looks offset, okay? It offset a little bit. And yeah, so that +1 is necessary to have all these together, as you can see here. Boom, boom. So that way we can draw, once we draw the line, actually this one, we can keep if I'm drawing a line, you see how this is, you can see the 2 dots here, and that doesn't look good. So for that, escape, Control 2, that's why we add this +1 here, and that aligns everything. Now, my friend John Bergara from Excel Brutal, he's a good friend from Colombia. He's a maestro with formulas, okay? He told me that, hey, look, for that if that you're putting there, it is not necessary, you can remove the whole if and just leave it as the following, okay? So I'm just gonna do this real quick. I'm actually gonna bring this ampersand up, down, and then the next ampersand like that. So that way it's easier to follow and all the ampersands are aligned, okay? So what he told me is that you can just remove this if, the completely, and then bring the rep, concatenate it. And I did want to mention this because, again, what you want to do is close this in parentheses, this operation, this subtraction, and you multiply by 2. Okay, and you get the same effect. Now, I did like it because it's cleaner, it's shorter, but sometimes it's not logical for people who are new to this. So that's why I wanted to start redundant and then now make it more shorter and potentially elegant, of course. But sometimes when people see this, they don't understand why the ×2. Since we still gonna get a subtraction here, we're gonna get a 1 for the cases where we need to offset the axis items to the left. If we get a 0 there, ×2, we'll get a 0. So this rep eventually concatenated is not gonna add anything at all. So that's why he told me, with this, you can just save up the if and those save up some characters on your formula. So I liked it because it's cleaner. But then again, what am I missing? Let's see. I'm missing something here. What is that? So I think we don't need that parentheses. And there you go, no change. Which one do I prefer? To be quite honest, I would prefer this, but I'm glad that I show you the redundant version so that way you understand this logic. Now, is it possible to bring all this and have it into one formula? Because let me step back. We needed and for example, just in case this operation, the maximum length, we could have deleted it and just multiply by this repetition, and it still works the same. So even shorter than that, okay? But here, look how many columns we used. We used about, sorry, one more time. And then we used about one, 2, 3, and 4, okay? Just to get to this right here, this formula right here. If that's fine with you, that you can add all these columns to have that one there, perfect, no problem. But just in case, if you wanted to have all this into one formula, then that's where we need the let function in order to save some of these parts right here, because there's going to be one that gets repeated a lot of time, which is this part right here, this text. In order to save that, we define it once and use it many times. So how do we do that? Let's just step back and move this right here. And here I'm just going to put with the let, okay, with the let function. And the first thing that I want to write on the let function is the formatted array. So formatted values, so comma, and in this case it's gonna be text with this number right here, and then times 100, comma, double quote, 0.0, close the quotes and close the text, comma, and I'm gonna go to the next variable name on this case, and I'm gonna do formatted array. And on this one, or actually before formatting array, we need to calculate the length of that. That's important. So length of formatted value. So formatted values right here. And that is just gonna be simple length of formatted values. That's it for that, because we're gonna use that. Comma, then we go into a third variable, and it's gonna be formatted array in this case, comma, and this is gonna be the text function of the whole thing. In this case, is gonna grab the whole column, okay, text, comma, multiply times 100, comma, the quote, 0.0, close the quotes, close the parentheses of the text function, comma, and now all enter, and now we're gonna grab the same thing for the length. The length formatted array, comma, and that's just gonna be basically a length of the previous name that we just grabbed, comma, and now here we proceed with the same part that we just calculated on the other function. For that, I'm just gonna put a 1 for now and just close this and Control Enter just to see that we just built that, because sometimes with the let function that you build so many variable names and then for some reason you just lose what you're building and you can lose the formula there, okay? So, and we do this because it has happened to me many times that I'm building a mega formula and I lose it by something that I clicked or pressed on my keyboard, and the formula is gone. So it's like, so that's why I build it piece by piece, step by step. So let's delete this one. And here is where we're gonna do now the part of concatenating. We concatenate that, all enter. I'm just gonna bring the ampersand here. It's my way of building concatenated parts. The ampersand here, double quotes, 2 semicolons, space, double quotes, all enter to concatenate the following piece. And then here is where I'm gonna do the rep function, and I'm gonna do double quotes, space, double quotes, and I'm gonna repeat that in parentheses here, the maximum, okay, the maximum of the length, okay, the length of the formatted arrays minus, okay, the length of the formatted values. That's a part that we need. And then close the parentheses here, multiply by 2, and close the rep function here. And as soon as we do that, I'll enter, and then we just gotta concatenate it with the ampersand here, and concatenate it with this value right here, and close the parentheses of the let function, and we get the same effect. If we want, we can test it real quick and just select data, edit, and just switch it with this one right here, and we should see no change at all. And there you go, no change at all, and you get the same effect, but now with just one formula, as you can see there. Very clean, very simple to understand. It seems long, but again, we just put all the pieces into one formula, and you can copy this formula like that and bring it to another workbook. Again, you just need to add or edit the values and all that. Okay, let me step back here and now go to this section, because the last piece that we're missing is basically just one part, which is gonna be on the axis. So here at the axis is just basically saying, hey, look, well, what's the formula here? I just to remind myself. If on 6 is at the tip, then proceed with the round value. Okay, so it's basically saying this right here, and just saying if on C6 is gonna be this one, and F4 to lock it. If that's equal to at the tip, then proceed with rounding this value. Okay, and actually, yep, rounding that value, well, times 100, and rounding it to 1 decimal. Else, just leave it blank. And the blank is important here because we are essentially gonna click on this bar chart, right click, add data labels, click on the labels, Control 1, and then value from cells, we wanna put it on top of right here. So as soon as you can do this with the mouse, or you can also look with the black arrow pointing down one more time, just to select the whole column, but not the header. Click OK, and deselect that. And now I think we're good. I think if we switch this with at the tip, we see the numbers being put here. But for this axis, it's fixed. So how do we fix it? Well, the thing is that we just gotta add to our let function. In this case, since that's the one that we just re-edit, we could do if on C6 and we lock it, comma, I'll enter. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Okay, let's do this quite carefully, and let me do if that C6 equals to delete the comma, is equal to on axis. Okay, on axis, actually without the lowercase, lowercase. If that with axis, comma, proceed with the formula that you have below, else, comma, I'll enter, and do just the topic in this case. So I just can click here real quick and close the let function, and that will get us. Something is missing here. Let me see. I think that close. Yep, we don't. Well, actually, on axis, proceed with the following, and which is all of that, and then that close the if function. But then this, we need one more parenthesis to close the let function. And there we go. As you can see, now the function is working, because with this slicer, we are sort of controlling it. Whoops, sorry. Click on the slicer here. Whoop, there we go. And now if I just bring this down a little bit, at the tip, on the axis, at the tip or on the axis. So there you go. That's the part to build, or that's the formula taking effect. And that's it for this post. Basically, I wanted to share how we can get concatenated, or if we wanted to place a concatenated axis, or if we wanted to place the data labels on the axis, and how does it look, and if you wanted to switch them at the tip or on the axis, at the tip or on the axis. Again, I'll see you. Sorry, I'm having a couple of ideas here. It's not, I got quite a call here, and sorry, my thoughts got a little bit mixed up. I gotta call this person, but I'll see you in the next video, and let me know in the comments which one do you like most. Do you like on the axis or on the tip? Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.